Wow.
Supreme Court. Just like our January 6th, they smashed windows and trashed offices, overturned furniture, ripped off doors, vandalized statues, and reportedly stole things. After nearly 5 hours of rioting, officials said they managed to quell the attackers. In all, more than 400 people were arrested, according to local authorities, and 1,200 have been detained for questioning, according to a police official. Late last night, the new president, known just as Lula, surveyed the damage. In an address from the Capitol, Lula called the attackers fascists and vowed to find every person who breached the buildings. As for Bolsonaro, he is here in the United States, reportedly fleeing to Orlando 2 days before Lula's inauguration. It has not gone unnoticed that he is in the same state as former President Donald Trump, who he was often compared to during his one term in office. It has also not gone unnoticed that some of the same people who amplified Donald Trump's lies about 2020 also amplified Bolsonaro's. Among them, Steve Bannon, Jason Miller, and MyPillow CEO, Mike Lindell. Joining me now from Miami is NBC News correspondent Guad Venegas, Brazil News Director for the Associated Press, David Biller, and New York Times Chief White House Correspondent and MSNBC political analyst Peter Baker. So, Guad, what can you tell us about what happened on Sunday and what is currently happening down there in Brazil?
Well, Katie, a lot of parallels when you compare this to January 6th. Just like Donald Trump eventually tweeted, Jair Bolsonaro also eventually tweeted yesterday saying he did not agree. He said it was against the rules to break into government buildings the way they did, but he immediately followed that by saying there was no proof that linked him to what happened in Brazil. We know that Lula da Silva, the current president of Brazil, tweeted before that indicating that Jair Bolsonaro shared some of the blame for what had happened in Brazil. Now, lawmakers were not present. This happened on Sunday. The president was also not there. He was traveling to a different city in Brazil to assess damage that had been caused by rain. He has now returned to the capital, and the military has intervened. We saw the images of military police detaining individuals, loading them up to buses. As you said, hundreds are being detained for questioning, and the Supreme Court has now intervened. They have ordered the military to disband any protests of Bolsonaro supporters throughout Brazil, as they've now taken over the capital, the military, and they've restored order. And now President Lula da Silva indicates there will be an investigation. In a press conference last night, he indicated he believed there was financiers behind these protesters, and he believed there's a group of other people that set this up, and this is, of course, what the investigation will be digging into, as Brazilian authorities have now taken over, and they continue to take people in for question, Katie.
So, David, what is it like in Brazil right now? Is it over? Is everything fine? Is the government back in control? Do they have a strong hand down there, or is it still tense?
Well, it's certainly still tense. The Justice Minister just gave a press conference and he said that the worst appears to be over. As was just mentioned, the government does want to go after not just the rioters, but also the people who facilitated this, the people who were busing people in, paying for them to take these buses and these flights. But also, it appears that there were authorities, police, and the security forces that stood by and allowed this to happen. The governor of the federal district has been suspended for 90 days by a Supreme Court justice because of what the Supreme Court justice called willful omission. And so, really, there's a big investigation going on right now, not just into who's responsible for the physical trashing of these buildings, but all of the forces behind it that enabled it.
Why did it happen 2 days after the inauguration on the Sunday when no one was there?
Your guess is as good as mine. I think that a big part of this is that people were awaiting a signal from Bolsonaro. They wanted to know that he was behind them. We saw messages on social media from his supporters saying, just wait 2 more days. He's going to tell us what to do. Waiting for the clues. They would parse these photos that he would post as though they were enigmatic clues, and then no order appeared to come.